Hey, ladies, welcome to The Power of the Ask, the podcast where we ditch the waiting and embrace the asking for what we truly deserve.
Welcome to The Power of the Ask.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Power of the Ask podcast, which helps you get what you need financially and personally. We are so glad that you're here today. My name is Lisa Zeiderman. I am managing partner at Miller Zeiderman, and I am one of the co-hosts with my dear friend, Precious Williams. Hi, Precious.
Hey, Queen Lisa. As our queen just said, I'm Precious Williams. I'm known as a killer pitch master and the CEO of the Perfect Pitch Group. Welcome back. This week, we're excited to introduce you to one of our amazing guests, Monica Adwani. Now, you know, when we bring our guests on the show, we got to give you a little tea on them, a little background. Monica Adwani is a visionary CEO and turnaround expert with over 18 years in the insurance and business world. As the founder of Breezy Seguros, she empowers Latino and immigrant entrepreneurs through innovative insurance solutions and business growth strategies. Recognized with multiple honors, including the AXL 100 and Top 50 Women Leaders of Massachusetts, Monica is also a passionate advocate for inclusion, a board advisor for women entrepreneurs, and the voice behind Transcend with M podcast. Her journey from immigrant to impact maker continues to shape industries and inspire change. Welcome, Monica, my dear friend. We're so excited to have you with us today. So to kick things off, why don't you share a little something with our audience, something that they wouldn't know from looking you up on LinkedIn or reading your bio?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me here, ladies. It's amazing sharing this space with the both of you. Let's see. That was a great intro. And I think, I always say never forget where you come from, right? So I think that, something people won't get out of my bio is that I'm a country girl. I grew up in the country in Puerto Rico, so I was the one that go grab the chickens and ride the horses and was in the middle of all the cows and all of that. So and I love gardening and I love planting and I have a really deep connection with Mother Earth. So I think that's something that people won't get from me because I'm so like corporate, right? But I am a country girl at heart from Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Nice. I love that, Monica. You are a leader, and leadership is a powerful journey that requires continuous learning. It's all about learning. And for us at Savvy Ladies, it's all about learning too, and then doing meaningful work and innovation. What is one bold decision that you made early in your career that turned out to be the game changer?
Mm. I think that the bold decision that I took was to move here to Massachusetts. I graduated college in Puerto Rico. I had a career there, but I always wanted more. I wasn't satisfied. I was grateful, but never satisfied. And I think that was the bold move. I till this day, it's just my daughter, my husband, and I have no immediate family here 20 years later. So I think, in Spanish, we say it cruzando el charco, which is like crossing the ocean, right? And I think that was the boldest move I made in order to succeed in my career. I didn't know at that moment in time 20 years ago what that career will look like, right? I just wanted something better. I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be around something new. And it evolved with time, and once I got here, I was open. My eyes were open to a world of possibilities. So I think that was the boldest move that I made.
Well, you came to this country as an immigrant and you built such a powerhouse career from the ground up. Now that you're an industry influencer, what's one myth about entrepreneurship and or the insurance industry that you wish that more people would finally let go of?
That's that, and I can answer that very quickly. Basically, I think people need to let go that when you become an entrepreneur, you will have all the time in the world. Because it takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time. And people usually focus on what they see after you have put 20, 30 years of work, right? So that shiny syndrome that people see, like the shiny life that we get to live after so many years of work. So I think people need to let go of that because entrepreneurship, if not, it's more work than having a 9 to 5, right? And a lot of people want to leave the 9 to 5, but they don't know that it's actually beauty on the 9 to 5 and a lot of sacrifice on the entrepreneurship side. So um, I think that's one thing that I will say people need to let go of that and let go of the shiny syndrome.
You know, you've made insurance empowering and innovative. And this is, I think this is could be one of my favorite questions. In fact, Precious, I'm going to tell you, I want this question on every single podcast. The
So, Lisa, I know you are not putting me in the position to pitch in front of Precious. This is
Without
not
a doubt, this is what it's all about. It's all about that pitch. And this is like the best question. So, Monica, give it to us. What's your elevator pitch to someone who thinks insurance is boring? I need to hear it.
insurance is not boring. I've been in insurance for almost 20 years now, and not one day is the same. I get to save people's life. I get to save people businesses. I get to be the hero of many people's lives. I also get to be the bad guy in a lot of people's lives as well. But for a person that wants to enter the insurance industry or is thinking about, oh my God, what is an insurance? Insurance has everything. Like you can work in anything within this industry from, IT to, people only think that it's sales or like, I'm going to sell you a policy. But actually, I have a medical and IT background and I entered the industry actually doing research, like assisting researches on what is going on in the world from ergonomics to all these things and how does that affects the everyday life of one person. So I will say if you don't want to be bored one day in your life, then insurance is for you. Insurance is not boring. Insurance is also an amazing career that every day provides you an opportunity to be different and to do something different every single day. I will say that with 105% certainty.
Great elevator pitch.
Listen, Monica,
You're
you are
hired. You're hired. You're
yeah,
hired.
you're hired. You're hired. No, and I love that, Monica, because when I think about insurance, and a gentleman said this to me years ago, he talked about being a firefighter,
Yeah.
and he goes in, he protects families, he puts out family fires, he puts out real fires. He is the type that saves precious family heirlooms, he saves generations, and the way he put that spin on insurance has always stood with me. And having known you all these years, I know that not one day is the same with you. And you're the CEO. Let's be clear, you're not just you're the CEO. And you're also known for revitalizing businesses. So, what's one of the first things that you do to diagnose when stepping into a turnaround role or turning around someone's insurance business?
Yeah, so for the first half of my career, I was on a contributor role, right? So that's how you learn that's how you start. You start as a contributor, you learn the business, you learn what you need to do and you start acquiring certain knowledges in certain tactics that you can apply in the future. And to be completely honest with you guys, I never thought I will become, CEO or owner or any of those things. They just happened because of the hard work that I put in as a contributor. So I built myself to where I am today, right? Nothing was given. I didn't have piles of money to get to where my positions is, nothing. I come from zero to not knowing what insurance was when I got here but 20 years ago. So insurance in Puerto Rico was like non-existent. Like nobody talked about that. But I will tell you that in the past 8 years of my career, I have transitioned to become a turnaround expert. And what does that mean is identifying what can put a business at risk and at jeopardy. So it's a part of risk management, right? And a lot of people don't actually look at that side of the business ever. Like a lot of small, medium-sized businesses turn a blind eye into risk management. And to become a turnaround expert, to diagnose a business, you have to be savvy, right? Into a lot of different things, from financials to operations to processing to customer service to marketing. So when we look at a business, we look at a business as a whole, right? My staff is not looking to sell you a policy, right? They are looking to understand, how are you putting your own business at risk? What are the things that you are not looking into? What are the things that you don't have processes defined for? And what are you not insured for that can be a liability that can cost you everything you have built? And that's basically how we look at businesses. And that's how I look at my own business as well, right? I took, well, I was CEO of a company that I own, and I'm no longer CEO there. And now I became CEO here at Breezy as of September last year. But before that, there were 3 years of assessing that risk, right? Like, can I get there? How we're going to get there? What is the planning for us to get there? How are we going to cut in make sure that we reduce the liabilities that we have in open exposure there? And I will not take that role unless I have a plan for those liabilities to be reduced, right? So I think we all owe it to ourselves to look at our businesses as turnaround experts, because at the end of the day, regardless of what you do with the business at the end, you are building a business that should be able to sell tomorrow if you wanted to. And if you don't have that a strategy from a turnaround or risk management perspective, then you're going to be stuck and you're not going to be able to pivot when you need it the most. So that's kind of how I diagnose things. That's how my world looks like, right? It's not about selling a policy or, oh, you need general liability or workers' compensation. That's just the product of what we do behind scenes, right? So it's much more deeper than just, oh, I bought a general liability online for $1 million, I'm covered. No, no, no. Let's look at your contracts. Let's look at your third-party contracts. Let's look at how does your process of onboarding a client looks like. What are you saying? Is your branding okay? What is your marketing saying to the clients? Do you have any risk out there, any exposure? Is anything written on your contracts that actually is going to leave you exposed for a liability? Like, what are the holes, right? Like, we are looking for the holes. We're not looking for what you have built. We're looking for what's not there. And I think that's the best way to explain it.
It's great.
I'm so passionate about this. I can talk about this all day, guys.
Listen, we understand.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
So, Monica, you have scaled a business. When you were scaling your business, how did you address cultural inclusion, your authenticity, especially in an industry that is fairly traditional? How did you deal with all of that? Or maybe you didn't, okay, during this time period when you were trying to scale your business?
It's not fairly traditional. It's very traditional.
Okay.
And it's okay. I'm going to say it because I can't. It's very traditional. It's very male dominated. So that's it, not because I'm a woman I'm saying that. Is because historically insurance is a male dominated industry. But I think the funny fact about that, it's only 2% of this industry is minorities, and about 65% of the workforce is women. Just less than 1% occupy management or C-suite roles. So there is a lot of headway to be done within this industry, right? And I have a lot of peers, women in the industry, that are making an amazing job and a huge headway there. But I think it's an everyday job, Lisa and Precious. I think every day, including myself, that I have such a diverse group of people around me, and I'm trying to bring younger like younger generations, younger people into the industry. It's an everyday job. I cannot tell you that I have achieved full success on that, because I will be lying. But I think every single day we have the opportunity to educate our peers, educate the industry, and keep showing that it is possible, right? Just to give you some stats, in the next 8 years, we've been talking about this for a while. Before it was 15, then it was 10, now it's 8. In 8 years, 400,000 people will be retired from this industry.
Wow.
And today, only about, I think it's like 3 or 4 universities have insurance as a go-to educational bachelor or master's degree that you can take, right? And we are not doing enough, and we don't get enough support from colleges or universities to bring this up as an opportunity to pursue, because it's so commercialized that people don't think they can build a career within the insurance industry. So our industry is at jeopardy because we don't have a workforce. Like the next generation, it's me, and it's like a 20-year gap between the one that is retiring and us that have been already here for 20 years. And then from us to the new generation is another 20-year gap. So it is a huge opportunity if we're going to talk about it from a workforce development and from an economy standpoint and from a culturally diverse opportunity. The opportunity is in there, because who is growing the economy? Immigrants, minorities, right? And this industry needs more of that. They need more diverse, multilingual people working in it, because the reality is that the service doesn't exist, and it's not driven or directed to help or serve minorities in this industry. So we have a lot of work to do. There are a few companies, national companies, that do a great job. They have, doubled down on their DEI efforts, but it's not just talking about DEI. It's like, what are we doing, right? Every single day. Am I going to the college down the street wanting to speak with the directors of academic affairs and tell them, listen, I am willing to teach, insurance, give it to me as a course, and I will graduate 20 people, in 2 years. Community colleges, they're now free. So why not, include this as a go-to course where if people get into this industry out of the bed here in Massachusetts, new employees that don't have experience, that get their license and get to work, they could be high school students, could start making $60,000 a year. What experience?
Great to know.
So, what are we doing together to combat that cultural inclusion and authenticity and make this industry more diverse, but at the same time grow that workforce, because we don't have it. We don't have it.
Ladies, are you ready to take control of your future? Do you dream of financial stability, freedom, and a life that truly deserves you?
For over 20 years, Savvy Ladies has empowered women from all walks of life to make smart financial choices, achieve our goals, and build a brighter future.
We built Savvy Ladies as a community of women supporting women. We offer free financial educational programs, a trusted helpline, and guidance and advice from America's top financial professionals.
You can access the financial helpline at savvyladies.org or where you get your apps under Savvy Ladies. Savvy Ladies equips you with the knowledge, confidence, and support you need to thrive. So don't wait. Join Savvy Ladies today and start building your financial confidence and well-being now.
Well, one of the things that I think is so important about the Savvy Ladies Power of the Ass podcast is we have these real conversations. There are many people who are probably sitting here who are going to sit here stunned. Like, what do you mean that there isn't this great big workforce coming behind this generation? One of the things I want to say about you, Monica, that I want to toot your horn because you are doing amazing things in the insurance industry. But first, you're bringing it through networking by bringing this as an opportunity to our next generation. The first thing I remember about you when we met is that you were bringing a group of women authors from the Northeast together, and we were sharing stories from writing our books. And it was so many. I think you've done 3 of these that I have been a part of, and it was women like me and women who are Latina, women who are white, women who Asian Pacific Islander, women who are Black, who were all coming together at an event that you hosted where we were showcasing our books. And there were women coming from all over Massachusetts or in the Northeast who would come and listen to us talk about our books, what made us get into our professions. I'm an attorney turned speaker, trainer, all these sort of things. And as I looked around those rooms and I looked at all of us as authors and I looked at the women who were attending, we were networking, getting to know each other better and still learning about what you do in the insurance industry. And from there, you and I have built such a great bond with each other. We've been to spas together. We've talked business with each other. And when I got this opportunity to train at a huge firm, who did I come to when I said they're requesting this type of insurance that I've never heard of? What did you do? You got on the phone with me
Yeah,
and you
we
explained
got
to me
this.
one of your,
No, I said we got this.
right. And I was like, I've never been asked to have this type of insurance before. Oh my goodness, it's got to be $1 million or $2 million. And I'm like, what? I have never, but I knew who to call and ask. And we talked about it. I met with your person and handled, and I got to get that contract with that. I'll call it Big Four, Big Four. But how would I've known to call you? How would I've known to go anywhere? You helped me, but we were already friends. I saw what you were doing in the community for us as women who were authors, who were speakers, and you brought us all together in these different spaces to showcase. And then when I had that problem, who did I call? So one of the greatest things I wanted to toot your horn because I didn't know much about insurance. I didn't know about Keyman. I didn't know about all of these things, especially insurance that they asked for 2 different types of insurance that I had never heard of. And you got it handled. But that's because we had a relationship. That's because I saw how you were in the community, not just a Latino community. You were making inroads into other people of color communities as well as white communities and saying, hey, you all need to know there's more to insurance than what you think. This mitigates against risk. This does this and this does that. So I'm so glad that you're on the Savvy Ladies Power of the Ass podcast because when I was told what I needed to have, who did I call and ask that question? And you got it handled. My question to you and me setting all of that up is what do you want your legacy to be in this industry and even other industries and beyond? What do you want to leave your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be said, to be felt in these communities beyond insurance?
Oh Lord, that's a very heavy question.
I know it is. I know it is.
Well, first of all, I think you know, my work with women goes beyond anything I could imagine, and it's beautiful. Just because, myself, it kind of started like through selfish reasons, because I felt very lonely in a certain period of my life where I was doing this switch to, the CEO life and entrepreneurial life and whatnot. So but that's all about, that cultural inclusion, right? Like, we need to provide, if we want to see change, we have to provide change. And I don't believe that anyone can provide change if they don't experience it, right? So my legacy, what I want my legacy to be, is that when people remember Monica, or I don't want them to remember what I did in terms of my accolades or anything like that. Like, I have many, you can see. I have like two things of like accolades, but um I want them to remember that I had an impact in their lives. I want them to remember that one way or another, I was able to help them um succeed in any given way possible, whatever that success means to them. It could be that I had a conversation about our teenage daughters, and that's what you needed to hear, and I didn't know, and I don't need to know, right? I don't want to know. I just want to make sure that everything I do and how I live my life is impacting people positively one way or another. And not every day is a good day. I also need that cup to be poured into, right? Like, it's not, sometimes you're not always have enough to give, but at the same time, I do everything in my power for every day to at least help one person, and that has been my theme for about 6 years now. It's just impact one person at a time, one person a day. If I impact one person a day, that means that I'm impacting 365 people a year. And then they have the opportunity to impact another 365 persons. So in reality, I'm impacting more and more and more people every single day. And I think that's all I want. I want to create positive impact in anybody's lives, not just through insurance, but whatever is that, life throws at us. And I think showing up authentically and in being driven by that passion, right? I love insurance, it's my thing. I've been doing it for 20 years, but I love it from a place where I know I can make a difference today in somebody's life, right? Like, somebody calls me today, listen, I cannot, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna have to file for bankruptcy. I have this and these financial issues, and I like to be able to say, no, 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 let's see who do we have on our network that can help you with that. Let's make some introductions, right? Like, how can you possibly change your sales process? Like, let's look for options here. It's not just about selling insurance, it's about, like, how can I help you create the world that you want to live in? And I think that's the beauty of networking, right? Like, Precious, everything you were saying, it's about creating opportunities for other people. It's about, you never know what people need or who do they need to meet, right? So um I've learned that through bringing people together, I'm an enabler that way. Um, I bring people together and usually step back. I'm like, woo, this all, everybody's here. Bye. um, I'm very introverted. Like, I'm good about bringing people together, and then I retreat in my corner and I see things happening. And I think that's one of my superpowers. I have the ability to bring people together, to think, quickly, and help people quickly. So I think that that's what's brought me to here, and I just want my legacy to be that one of impact on a daily basis.
Monica, what is Transcend with M? You can tell us about that because I'm really interested. And
Yes.
then once we understand what it is, I want you to share, if you would, one episode that was the most memorable or surprising to you.
Oh,
Tell us
Lord.
first about Transcend with M, and then give us the episode. It's almost
Oh,
like an
Lord.
elevator pitch.
It's gonna be difficult to choose an episode because I have interviewed a lot of people and they're all fantastic in their own way and their own stories. So I'll come back to that.
Well,
Transcend with
think
that.
about one that surprised you, completely shocked
Yeah.
you.
Okay, I'll think of one. Let me tell you first about Transcend with M. So Transcend with M started on 2020. And Transcend with M started with because I was pissed off and I needed to like blew up some steam. And it started with me recording couple of episodes of like talking about leadership and how partnerships do not work and like how all this thing, right? So it started that way. And then I started interviewing a couple of my close friends, right? So I did an episode with one of my best friends where, we talked about the death of his sister, which is when we were in high school, and she was a victim of domestic violence, and she died when we were younger, and he raised, his nephew, and I started having conversations that um usually the stigma of women and having those conversations in public is a little hard. So I started having conversations about domestic violence or you know um impactful leadership within different industries and things like that, right? And it kind of evolved into, actually, we're telling real stories of women of becoming and success, but success looks differently for each one of them. So eventually I will say that after episode 10 or 11, I figured out that I was into something there, and I was like, okay. So we started actually reaching out and I started scouting kind of impactful stories of real women. That mean you got to the CEO role or you stepped down from the CEO role to be the stay at home mom because you wanted to, and that's what you wanted to do, and that was success looked to you, right? Or you got divorced, and after your divorce you blew up because he was holding you back, and all these things. Um so 100, and I think we have like 168 or so episodes. I
Wow.
I I took a break last year because I had this transition to this role, so I couldn't do everything. But we're coming back for 2026, which is I'm very happy about. But I will say, I have a few stories that were very impactful. I interview her name is Bevan Muckford. She lost her child, and she is a kick-ass in business. And I heard her story in person, and I wanted to interview her, and we set up time for like an hour, and 2 hours later we were still there.
Wow.
And then Precious was another one because we had a lot of things in common from our past, even though our age difference is not too far. But we definitely had, we've both gone through similar past lives, right? That we have gone through. And that was another one that we set up for an hour and we end up like, doing a lot. And then I think the other one that was really impactful that I literally cried. I cried and I had no words. I interviewed this lady. Her name is escaping me right now. I think it's Annabelle. Her name is Annabelle. She's Latina, but was a 9/11 survivor. And she completely, I will send you guys her link to listen to her story. She wrote a book, Skid Skid Jump. She was writing the book when I interviewed her. The book wasn't live yet. And she literally narrated her entire experience of 9/11, how she came down, I don't know how many floors. And the book is called Skip Skip Jump because that's what she did on their stairs, in order to get to the ground and survive. And she talked about how she hid in a church, and all she could hear was, you know, the rush of, and I still remember it. I'm getting goosebumps. Um, she could only hear the rush of her blood through her veins. That's all she could hear in the church. And then she got in a taxi and she was able to get out of the city. And I think that was the one of the most impactful ones that left me with nothing to say. Because what is to say after that, you know? But it was so vivid. And I remember me being in a classroom in Puerto Rico in high school when that happened. So it was so impactful to hear what she was living versus what I remember watching on the TV, and how we were all feeling outside of that, of that situation. Um, and, her trauma and everything that she had to go through in order to become her again, right? So, and how she's still healing till today, right? And how she's using that to help others heal, in any other type of journey that they are in. So I will say that was the most impactful one I've had. And after that, I was like, I don't know, man. This is any other heat from here is gonna be a smooth ride. But yeah, I think that one was the one that actually, I think the recording, I had to stop the recording and everything because I was like sobbing. I couldn't stop sobbing. But that was very, and made me feel very grateful, for the life I have, and for what I have gone through with my life, because um I don't know if I would have survived emotionally or mentally something like she lived, right?
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, Monica, it all comes down.
To
The
the
final countdown. The final question.
Why?
Well, we ask every queen who's our guest on the Power of the Ass podcast. Why is the power of the ass so crucial for women, especially financially? Final question, Monica.
I think it's very important because there is nothing better than to learn from people that been there, done that, and why, not take that blueprint and apply it to you, right? Like, um, it is very hard to start from zero. And it is a lot easier when you have something to refer to and someone to learn from. And I think, the power of the ass just brings that, brings expertise, brings experience, brings people that been there, done that. And I think it's a wonderful tool, not just for us to talk about experiences or who we are and all these things, but to learn, right? And maybe identify yourself with someone that could probably mentor you in the future, right? Or make an impact in your life in the future. So not everybody's for everybody, but at least you can learn, you can listen, and then you can reach out if you listen to this episode or another episode and say, you know what, I really relate to that person. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to reach out to Precious. I'm going to reach out to Lisa and see if they can make an introduction for me, because I think this person can help me in X or Y way. And I love what she said about X. So I think, when people listen to this podcast, that should be the way they should be listening, right? Like, how can these people that is in front of me right now bring any value to my life, right? Do I need any of that? So I think that's why is crucial to women in finance and any other aspect.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So, as Monica, thank you so much for being our esteemed guest today. And as you know, with the power of the with the power of the As podcast, powered by Savvy Ladies, we bring the great guests. We bring the best guests who give you insight into their lives, insight into their finances, and insight into how what it really means to be a woman who's empowered financially. So listen to this episode. Tell a friend to tell a friend to what? Tell a friend. Subscribe to the Power of the Ass podcast. As your co-host, Queen Lisa and Precious, we're so delighted that you are listening, that you are loving what you're hearing, and that you are really loving on our guests. And we hope that you take something away from every last episode. So again, tell a friend to tell a friend to what? Tell a friend, subscribe, keep listening, sharing it with your other women in your lives. We're doing it for you all to feel so empowered. And never forget the power of the ask. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Power of the Ask, ladies.
Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to spread the love with hashtag Power of the Ask.